What's up, Wrestle Scope Nation? And whoa, hold on to your seats, because what I'm about to expose today is going to shake the very foundation of WWE. This isn't just another wrestling story, folks. This is about betrayal, this is about jealousy, and this is about the tribal chief showing his true colors in the most pathetic way possible. You heard that right. Roman Reigns, the so-called head of the table, the man who's been preaching about loyalty and family for years, is now showing his true insecure nature, and I've got the receipts. By the end of this video, you're going to see Roman Reigns in a completely different light, and trust me, you're not going to like what you see. But before we dive into this absolute bombshell, smash that like button right now if you're ready for the truth. And if you think Roman Reigns has been overrated this entire time, drop a comment down below saying exposed. Let's get into it. Let me ask you something, Wrestle Scope Nation. When did Roman Reigns become so insecure that he can't even handle his own wise man having relationships with other superstars? When did the tribal chief become so weak that he's literally jealous of where Paul Heyman places his loyalty? Because that's exactly what we're seeing right now, and it is embarrassing. For years, and I mean years, we've had to sit through Roman Reigns telling us about family, about loyalty, about acknowledging the tribal chief. We've watched him manipulate the Usos, we've seen him browbeat his cousins into submission, and we've witnessed him hold the WWE Championship hostage for over 1,000 days. And through it all, through every single moment, Paul Heyman has been there. Paul Heyman, the greatest advocate in WWE history, the man who built Brock Lesnar into a monster, the mastermind behind ECW, has been standing by Roman's side, calling him the greatest of all time, handling his business, and making sure the tribal chief's legacy was cemented in WWE history. But now we're seeing cracks in the armor. Now we're seeing Roman Reigns for what he really is, an insecure, jealous, paranoid control freak who can't stand the idea that Paul Heyman might have other interests, that Paul Heyman might have other clients, that Paul Heyman might have a life beyond kissing Roman's boots every single week. And you know what the worst part is? The absolute worst part? Roman Reigns has the audacity to act like he's the victim in all of this, like he's the one who's been wronged, like he's the one who deserves sympathy. Are you kidding me right now? This is the same man who abandoned his family when they needed him most. This is the same man who turned his back on the Usos when they were getting destroyed week after week. This is the same man who has used and abused every single person in his orbit for his own personal gain. And now he wants to play the victim because Paul Heyman might be giving attention to someone else? I don't think so. And if you're as fired up about this as I am, hit that comment section and let me know, because this behavior is unacceptable. The foundation of betrayal. Let's rewind for a second, Wrestle Scope Nation, because to truly understand how pathetic Roman's jealousy has become, we need to understand the foundation of his relationship with Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman aligned himself with Roman Reigns back in 2020, right after Reigns returned at SummerSlam with a completely different attitude. Gone was the smiling, fist-bumping babyface that the WWE Universe had rejected for years. In his place stood a ruthless, calculating villain who was ready to take what he believed was rightfully his. And Paul Heyman? Paul saw the potential. Paul saw the opportunity to guide someone who finally had the killer instinct to dominate WWE. And for over 3 years, Paul has been the perfect wise man. He's crafted Roman's promos, he's negotiated on his behalf, he's taken verbal and physical abuse from Roman's enemies, and he's never, and I mean never, betrayed the tribal chief. But here's where it gets interesting, folks. Here's where Roman's true character starts to show. Throughout this entire run, Roman has never trusted Paul Heyman. Think about it. Every few months, we'd see Roman question Paul's loyalty. Every time Brock Lesnar showed up, Roman would get paranoid. Every time Paul had to interact with another superstar, Roman would give him that look, that threatening, you better not cross me look. And Paul? Paul would always reassure him. Paul would always bow down, kiss the ring, and pledge his unwavering loyalty to the tribal chief. But was that ever enough for Roman? No, because Roman Reigns isn't satisfied with loyalty. He demands complete submission. He doesn't want a wise man, he wants a slave. He doesn't want an advocate, he wants someone who will erase their entire identity and exist only to serve him. And that is what makes his current jealousy so infuriating. The signs were always there. Now, some of you might be saying, come on, this is wrestling, this is just storytelling. And you're right, it is storytelling, but the best stories are rooted in truth. And the truth is that Roman Reigns' jealousy and insecurity have been on display for years. Let's talk about the Brock Lesnar situation, shall we? Every single time Brock Lesnar returned to WWE during Roman's title reign, what happened? Roman became obsessed with Paul Heyman's past relationship with Brock. Despite Paul choosing Roman time and time again, despite Paul helping Roman strategize against Brock, despite Paul standing in Roman's corner during their matches, it was never enough. Roman would constantly question Paul, he'd make passive-aggressive comments, he'd threaten Paul with violence if there was even a hint of betrayal, and this is after Paul had proven his loyalty dozens of times. Do you know what that reveals about Roman's character? It reveals that he's fundamentally insecure about his own position. He knows that Paul Heyman's advocacy is part of what makes him special. He knows that without Paul, he's just another guy with a Superman punch and a spear. And that terrifies him. Next, let's talk about Sami Zayn. Oh boy, let's talk about Sami. When Sami Zayn infiltrated the Bloodline and actually became a genuine loyal member of the family, what did Roman do? Did he embrace Sami? Did he trust Sami's loyalty even after Sami proved himself time and time again? No. He constantly belittled Sami, questioned his motives, and eventually kicked him out of the family. And why? Because Roman Reigns can't handle anyone else receiving attention or loyalty in his circle. He can't stand the idea that the Usos might actually like Sami. He can't tolerate the thought that Paul Heyman might respect Sami's dedication. Everything has to revolve around Roman, and anyone who threatens that dynamic has to be eliminated. The pattern is crystal clear, people. Roman Reigns is a narcissistic control freak who disguises his insecurity as strength. He's not the tribal chief, he's a tyrant. And his jealousy over Paul Heyman's loyalty is just the latest example of his toxic behavior. Paul Heyman's impossible position. Now let's talk about Paul Heyman for a minute, because honestly, I feel for the guy. And I know that might be controversial because Paul has done some questionable things in his career, but hear me out. Paul Heyman is caught in an impossible position right now. On one hand, he's dedicated years of his life to building Roman Reigns into the most dominant champion in modern WWE history. He's invested his reputation, his credibility, and his legacy into the tribal chief's success. Walking away from that isn't easy. But on the other hand, how much abuse is one man supposed to take? How many times is Paul supposed to prove his loyalty before it's enough? How long is he supposed to live under the constant threat of Roman's paranoia and jealousy? Because let's be real, Roman has been abusive to Paul Heyman, and I don't use that word lightly. The constant threats, the intimidation, the public humiliation, the impossible standards of loyalty, that's textbook toxic relationship behavior. And now, when there's even a hint that Paul might have interests outside of serving Roman 24/7, Roman's jealousy explodes. He can't handle the idea that Paul Heyman is a human being with his own thoughts, his own relationships, and his own professional interests beyond being the tribal chief's mouthpiece. Think about what Roman is demanding here. He wants Paul to have no other clients, no other interests, no other loyalties. He wants Paul to exist in a vacuum where Roman Reigns is the only thing that matters. And that's not loyalty, folks. That's obsession. That's control. That's the behavior of someone who's deeply, fundamentally insecure. Paul Heyman has given Roman Reigns everything.
He's helped him cut the best promos of his career. He's helped him navigate political backstage situations. He's been the buffer between Roman and the WWE Universe's hatred. And what does he get in return? Constant suspicion, constant jealousy, constant paranoia. If I were Paul Heyman, I'd have walked away months ago. The fact that he's stuck around this long is a testament to his professionalism and his commitment to the business. But how much longer can this go on? How much longer before Paul says, "You know what, Roman? I'm done being your emotional punching bag. I'm done proving myself to someone who will never trust me. I'm done sacrificing my dignity for your ego." What this means for the Bloodline. So where does this leave the Bloodline? Where does this leave Roman Reigns? And most importantly, where does the WWE Championship picture leave? Because here's the thing, Wrestle Scope Nation. Roman's jealousy and paranoia aren't just personal issues. They're destroying the Bloodline from the inside out. We've already seen